Parents in Uvalde, Texas, have done what no parent should have to do in their lifetime: bury their own kids. And yet they have been failed time and time again. The Uvalde School District had already given us enough proof that they couldn't take care of the kids the right way in crisis. Then they thought it was a good idea. You can put the picture back up, please. They thought it was a good idea to hire this officer, Crimson Elizondo, who was a state trooper. When she was a state trooper, she shirked her responsibility by failing to save those kids, going inside and doing that. Those 77 minutes in May. She came unprepared, did not answer the call of duty, did not save those kids. But hear what she said if her son was in the classroom.
No, if my son had been in there, no, I would not have been outside, I promise you that.
Her job was to go inside. First responders all act as if it were their kids, their family, when they enter places where their lives are on the line. That's why they are our heroes. She was hired after saying this, after not entering to help, by the same school she failed. Now, that screams, it is a cry for help from this locality to get more help in figuring out how to keep those kids safe. So let's push the conversation. I want to bring in two important voices to help you, the viewer, understand what has to get happening here. State Senator Roland Gutierrez, who represents Uvalde, and Police Chief Chris Vanghele, who responded to the tragic Sandy Hook massacre. Chief, thank you very much. Senator, thank you very much for making time. So you heard what I've been saying, Senator. This is a cry for help, okay? They can't get it done at the local level. That's why they just suspended everybody, and the superintendent says he's getting ready to resign. They're all leaving and getting rid of everybody because they don't know what to do. Doesn't this call for state action? You, the governor, et cetera?
Well, Chris, thank you. First off, I've been calling for state action. I've been calling on this governor to do something for the last 5 months, and he's done very little for the people of Uvalde, from financial resources for these families that have been absent, from making sure that we get accountability from the Department of Public Safety. This governor has been feckless when it comes to Uvalde and to these families and getting them the accountability that they deserve. Let's be clear, this is not just Crimson Elizondo. This was almost 400 cops that walked around that hallway like it was a Sunday afternoon stroll. We've got a lot of work to do here, Chris. And
but it's systemic, right? I mean, I was always very slow. You know, I wasn't on the job when that shooting happened. Obviously, I would have been there. But the idea that kept coming back to me was, I'm slow to judge the men and women because I don't know the training, because I'm not going to judge somebody's head and their heart when I don't know what they've been told to do. But now you have enough information that everything has to change. My question to you is, what will make that happen? Do you believe the governor is not movable on this? He's just intractable and is not wanting to take control of it. And of course, the governor, if you're watching, if your staff is watching, the governor is welcome here to make the case. This is a place for solutions. What's your take?
The director of public safety direct reports to Governor Abbott. His name is Steve McCraw. He has misled this community and misinformed this community time and time again after this tragic massacre. We are at a time now where we need to have not just accountability from the school district, but from the local police, the county sheriff, and yes, the Department of Public Safety. Chris, we've had none. We've had none. I would argue that the greater mistakes, the greater errors that occurred here really were at that state trooper level. Mm-hmm. You saw Elizondo, but so many other of her colleagues, including Texas Rangers in that hallway, did absolutely nothing. We have a district attorney, Chris, who's also a Republican, who is holding back the evidence, claiming that there is some kind of criminal investigation before us. 10 days ago, she met with the families and said, look, I'm not going to indict anybody. So if you're not going to indict anybody, let's get all of the evidence out. I fear, Chris, that there is still more coming, more failure to be had, and no one at the state level is taking accountability. after these families pushing, and all they're doing is causing these families more and more pain.
Well, I hear you, Senator. Let's bring in Chief Vanghele, and I appreciate you being with us, understanding what happened in Sandy Hook and having been there and understanding that community and all you had to deal with to correct it. The concern here is, of course, you got to point fingers, you need accountability. But doesn't it seem like this community is set up to be ripe for some kind of copycat? I mean, isn't it just screaming that it's not prepared to protect its own kids?
No, thanks for having me, Chris. You know, I wouldn't say that there's going to be a copycat incident. You know, I can't tell you after, you know, the incident in Sandy Hook, because we were under, you know, national news and national attention for so long, just like Uvalde has been. Yes, that does bring out some, you know, individuals, even conspiracy theorists, that make a bad situation just that much worse by phoning in, you know, phony acts of violence or bomb threats or things of that nature. You know, my thought on it is that school district police department, and I don't know much about the independent school district system as it's set up in that state, was only 6 or 7 officers altogether.
Right.
So as far as I'm concerned, they should, you know, abandon the entire program and perhaps, you know, have, you know, more officers on the Uvalde or even on the state level that can take care of school security the way it should be taken care of.
Yeah, and look, obviously nobody wants to see anything that even resembles a copycat. I'm saying you got to make the community know that they're safer now than they were before, not less. And,
yes,
you know, now 10 years since Sandy Hook, you know, one of the big lessons was you don't wait anymore. Everybody who can respond goes right in. And the training had changed. And then we saw this one as an ugly demonstration. Either people didn't get the memo or they weren't willing to live up to it. What do you believe is the big lesson that has to be learned?
Well, it's frustrating because, you know, Uvalde, just like most police departments after Columbine, after Virginia Tech, after Sandy Hook, had received active shooter training. And, you know, from the media accounts of the Uvalde department's active shooter training, and one of the things that's told to officers going through that training is, guess what? This is what you signed up for. If you're by yourself, if you're with another person, you go in, and your job and your only job is to go towards that shooter and try to neutralize them and neutralize that threat. And it may be at the cost of your own life. And if you can't live with that and you can't make that commitment, then you don't deserve to wear the badge. Those Uvalde officers knew that. And, you know, for the ones that were in the hallway and sitting around and not doing anything, not even coming up with a plan, when clearly they had the weapons, the manpower, and the bulletproof shields and ballistic carriers that would stop a rifle round, they should have gone in. So suspensions aside, because it looks like they're going to be moving these officers to other locations, that wouldn't happen in Connecticut. Here, they passed laws in 2017 that if you leave a police department while you're under investigation for malfeasance or serious misconduct, you are not allowed to get a job at another police department. The Police Officer Standards and Training Council in Connecticut will not uphold that officer certification, and you are not even able to hire them. So this officer, Crimson, would not have been able to have been hired in Uvalde just because she was under investigation. I don't know if they have that law in Texas.
Well, Chief, there shouldn't take a law to have that kind of common sense either. It was
Correct.
The same school. But I know how you guys handled it up there. I know how the state handled it. And we're not seeing that same way in Texas, at least not yet. Chief Vanghele, thank you very much. Senator Gutierrez, always a pleasure, and thank you, sir. And anything we can do to help you help that community, we're here to get the word out, okay?
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate it.
All right, God bless you both.